Sheds, like the one that I'm in, are awesome for home gyms, but you've got to make sure that you've got a really strong floor system as a platform if you're gonna be lifting and potentially dropping some serious weights. Hey guys, Cody here with Backyard Shreds, helping people build epic home gym sheds in their own backyard. In this video, I want to take a closer look at the floor system that we use in our Backyard Shreds building plans and break down the elements that go into building a rock solid bulletproof floor. This video is inspired by a question from a customer, Austin from South Carolina, shout out buddy, who ended up buying the building plans for a 12 by 20 shred and is already building it. He asked this: what sizes are the joists in the foundation? I was thinking about building a 12 by 20 shed on 4 by 6 skids and doing 2 by 10 joists, 12-inch on center. He's definitely thinking on the right track. But there are a few other details to consider when you're thinking about floor strength. So let's take a look. Okay, so here we've got the SketchUp model for the 12 by 12 shred plan. And right here, we're looking at the floor system, and you can see kind of a cross section here. Now, one of the first things to note when you're thinking about floor strength is that the overall strength rating of your floor is really only as strong as the weakest point, which means if your floor is really strong in one point but weak in other points, the overall weight capacity or weight rating of your floor is diminished to the lowest common denominator. And that's really important. As a quick overview, basically what we've got for the floor system here is pressure treated lumber for everything because it is exposed to moisture from the ground, even though it's not direct contact. We've got 2 by 6 joists here, supported by 4 by 6 posts running the opposite direction, 4 by 6 skids, you might say. And those are spaced at 6-foot spans. This is a 12-foot by 12-foot square, and those go down to these 4 by 4 piers or posts, which level it to these deck blocks. This is a heavy-duty footing made by Camo. You can find these at Home Depot for around 10 bucks, and they are rated for 1,800 pounds per square foot. So super heavy duty. A similar product would be these Tough Block deck footings from Lowe's, and they are rated for, I think, 1,700 pounds per square foot. Also a great option, fairly inexpensive. We've got one of these at each post. These posts are spaced 4 foot on center along your beams, leveling everything off. Underneath this, you're gonna wanna put something like a compacted gravel foundation. Some folks you'll see just putting gravel underneath these specific footings. I would actually recommend, in our building plans, recommend that you put an entire gravel pad down underneath the entire deck. Now, that is gonna take a little bit more work. That is going to cost a little bit more money for all that gravel. But not only are you making sure that the gravel underneath these footings is supported and held in by the gravel around it, by putting gravel around it, but also to help drain or wick away any moisture from under the shed. So definitely a good idea to have 4 inches or so of compacted gravel underneath your shed foundation. Let's talk about the joists first. Does increasing the size of these joists make a stronger floor? Yes and no. It makes the floor stronger in some ways, but it doesn't necessarily make it stronger in others. So you could increase these to 2 by 10s, put them at 12 inches on center, which is what we have here as 2 by 6s, 12 inches on center. But while that would provide more support for, let's say, the plywood sitting on top of that, the weakest link or the weakest point then becomes these beams right here. And so one of the factors that you also have to consider is not just size and spacing. So we got all the S. We got size, the size of your joists here. You've got your spacing of your supports. You've also got the support itself of these members, which is these 4 by 6 posts. Right now, there are 3 different beams here with 6-foot spans in between. You could reduce the spans and put 2 beams in instead of just one center one. Then you would have 3 spans of 4 feet. So that would dramatically strengthen everything above it. So you're spreading the weight out across more beams, which is good. Now the weakest point would be, what are these beams resting on and how are these beams supported? Hey, by the way, if you're interested in building your own home gym shed, we've taken all the guesswork out and created the best DIY building plans for home gyms on the internet over at backyardshreds.com. And that building plan bundle doesn't just have the step-by-step detailed building instructions, it has that, but it also is a comprehensive resource that walks you through the planning phase of building permits and budgets and detailed material lists that you can print off or view on your phone, and just takes all the guesswork out of building this thing. So right now we've actually got a really strong floor system with our 3/4 inch plywood running across 2x6s, 12 inches on center, supported by 4x6s at 6-foot spans. But if we didn't have these deck footings spaced at 4 feet, we would actually have a much lower rating. Let's say that we only had one right here in the middle, and I think the rating for that is somewhere around like 40 pounds per square foot. By adding extra supports here at 4 feet on center, that gives us dramatically more strength to the floor. So now the weight is transferred from the sheathing to the joists, to the skids, and then down to each one of these posts. What is underneath even these footings is going to dramatically affect how strong your floor actually is, that's supporting your entire structure and supporting what you're lifting on. Yes, these deck footings are rated for 1,800 pounds, but you need at least several inches of gravel underneath these footings here themselves. And the entire point of that is that you need a sturdy foundation that's not going to shift or sink underneath that load. So as the weight gets transferred down onto the deck footing and onto ultimately the ground that the deck footing is sitting on, how you prepare that surface is really important to make sure that your platform stays level and doesn't sink or doesn't give and ultimately let any of these members crack. And you also want to take the sod away. So take away the grass. Once you put that building there, that grass is going to die, and then that organic material is going to rot, and then it's going to compress. So really what you want to do is cut away the sod, get down to the dirt, then lay your gravel on top of the dirt without the organic matter sitting in there, and then compact that gravel so it's all nice and firm. And that's going to reduce the amount that that surface that your entire shed is sitting on is going to shift in the future. All right, let's talk about anchoring for a second, because not only do you want everything to be strong with the weight that's going down on it, you also need to make sure that everything is connected. So obviously you're going to nail all of these different pieces together and support it that way, but also we use these hurricane clips to hold the joists to the beams, so that all the way through along every single beam you've got these hurricane clips, and those are super strong metal brackets that hold this entire thing together. You can see underneath that's going to hold the joists to the beams, and then the beams to the posts are held together by these 4x4 post cap connectors underneath. Also, if you are building in any kind of windy area, you may also be required to anchor your shed to the ground using some kind of driven anchor or stake or something like that into the ground that is attached to the frame of the shed itself. We've also got that included in the building plans and some recommended anchors that you can use if you're required to do that by building code. But even if not, it's still probably a good idea. All right, let's talk about the sheathing real quick. So with our building plans, we use 3/4 inch pressure treated plywood. And again, pressure treated because you've got moisture coming up from the ground to all of this. So anything that is exterior needs to be pressure treated. So this flooring is all pressure treated. 3/4 inch plywood. Plywood is going to be a lot stronger than something like OSB, which you might see for a house floor. In your living room or something like that, you've probably got a subfloor made out of OSB, whereas here we've got plywood, which is a lot stronger. Lastly though, regardless of how strong all of this floor system is, the actual impact of dropping weights on a specific point is still taking a ton of energy and transferring it into this floor. So weight sitting statically on the floor is one thing, but if you drop weights, the impact is very severe on the floor and could still crack or damage the subfloor. This is a subfloor, so you should still put some kind of, rubber flooring or stall mats or something like that on this subfloor to protect it and to disperse that energy from dropping weights. And that's gonna protect the subfloor even better. And then if you really wanna go further, building or buying some kind of Olympic lifting platform that you can put on top of this, or maybe using some extra padding where you are doing any weight dropping activities, like if you're doing heavy deadlifts or if you're doing CrossFit and you're doing drops from the top, then you probably want to have some extra padding in the spot that you're doing those types of lifts. And that, again, is just going to protect your floor. So get some extra padding just to be safe. Hey, if you found this helpful, like the video and consider subscribing, because I've got a lot more videos like this coming on building and designing home gym sheds and also practical fitness tips for the entire family. And if you're curious about building your own home gym shed, check out this next video that has my 9 reasons why I think sheds are perfect for home gyms. Again, I'm Cody with Backyard Shreds, and until next time, go build, lift, and grow. That was weird.